What is God? Okay, so we experience that there are things that we find out through experiences. So we'll say the truth is an experience. It is not knowledge. Okay? If you want to find the truth, you have to feel and be aware of your experiences and defeat the need to understand them. And once you defeated the need to understand your experiences, then you can start understanding them with a clean mind. Okay? Truth is an experience. How could I possibly hold the truth and transmit it to you? All I can do is use words to trigger experiences because you willingly participate. So I have no power over you. All I have is experience, and I use it. If you want to fly a plane, you deal with an experienced pilot and a plane crew. If you want to eat very good food, you trust an experienced cook. If you want to learn enlightenment, you try to find a source that seems to bring it. The thing is, if you try to learn enlightenment with a cook, you might end up doing a very good pizza pie. So what is God? If you believe that God exists, you will not find the truth. If you believe that God does not exist, you will not find the truth. Because both of these affirmations are not true. Okay? Well, does God exist or no? Depends on your experience. Okay? There is something, we feel it, it's so obvious to whoever becomes aware. It's undenied. You cannot deny it. Yeah, I can hear from here.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Like attention? I'm teasing you. Plug it and lower the phone of the portable computer. I love my technician. He does that when it's time for you to wait because information is coming in too quickly. Something happens. So I just pull jokes. There's something that we cannot deny if we pay attention. We can deny this feeling of everywhereness, of powerness, of existingness, of everything everywhere. We feel it. And then we put human traits on it, and then it's over. We're off. It's not God anymore. God helps me. No, God does not help you. He's not against you either, but He doesn't help you. He provides experience. So you can gain wisdom. Jesus is going to save me. Did He say that? Did this come out of His voice? Or they said that Jesus is the only way you're going to be saved? He said, I carry sins on my shoulders. So you don't have to suffer, so you can be forgiven. But if you consider the definitions of sins I gave earlier today, what Jesus carried were not what you understand as sins, because the word He used in His language meant these experiences of suffering. I will bear it on me so you will not have to face it. Okay? Every enlightened master with courage does that. Okay? The Buddha came and said, I'm going to alleviate the suffering of the world. He did this. Okay? So if you think that God helps you, it's a very human behavior of thinking that you're a victim, which is not the case. You're not a victim. I heard the voice of God. It's a command, and I had to do that. It is the will of God. God is the immobile bull. It is the sum of all the power in the universe, and it doesn't do a single thing. We do things with God. So before someone declares that is the will of God or not, well, then everything is the will of God, depending on your definition of will, on your definition of God. Okay? We can get lost in these words. If you believe, oh, there's no God, there's what the Buddhists say, there's Maha, there's the cosmic Buddha, okay? There's Dainichi Nyorai, they would say in Japan. A consciousness everywhere, bright as a blazing sun, as 1,000 blazing suns, Maha. It's an experience. And they describe it as doing nothing. Well, no, I just said it does nothing. Now I'm going to say it does stuff. It cares for you. It doesn't save you. It cares. But not like a mother or a father care. They don't care if you're going to suffer. They care about your experience, not if you like it. Okay? It's true. God does something. There is an experience of love. It doesn't mean that it is like a mate that is loving you. So when we say God loves you, you put the human experience of love. Oh, you mean I can like copulate God? Well, it depends on your definition of copulation and God. But you can get lost in these words too. So there is interaction, there is experience, because God is something that you just drip in the universal goo of highest energy, and there is the experience of love. What is the experience of love at the level of God? It is the experience of love that is not based on anything. The same way you laughed and because of the simple wish to smile and be happy, doing the Taoist happy faces. It is the love of God, not between mates, not a father and a mother. It's undefined. And there's no two people involved. God loves me, that's a mistake. There is love. You experience it. But it's not someone else loving you, because that's endorsing separation. Thus, there's no oneness. In oneness, you sit and there is love. I love this, I love that, that's human. When I say I love you guys, I love you. It's wonderful. Then your human projects tons of stuff, which is not the truth. Okay? We get in fantasy. There is love. There is love. It's wonderful. Breathe. Be happy. There is love. There is love. It's based on nothing. There's no interaction. It's an experience. You got that? There is great happiness. There is love. It is there. And you breathe. And you're self-aware of the state because you focus on it. And you feel. The more human is your God, the more it is, the further away it is from truth. The further it is away from truth, the less love you're going to experience while praying your God. If you pray your God like if you order a pizza, oh my God, bring me this, bring me that, and no anchovies, and it's supposed to be free if late by a half an hour. There's a misunderstanding of the concept of interaction, okay? You are bathing in God. You breathe, you're self-aware, there's divinity. Right? Simple. And clear. So the Buddhists that say there is no God, they composed that, and a lot of high-level Buddhists agree that the Buddha never said this. The Buddha never said there is no God. He said the God that you pray does not exist. He said no God. He said the guy you pray, many heads, 4 arms and stuff, doesn't exist. But there's a reason for that. There's also this great man, Nityananda Parahamsa, a Hindu enlightened being, he exists in this world. He's alive. He travels the world and he teaches. And for a Hindu saint, it was wonderful to hear. He said, you know Shiva that you pray doesn't exist. To hear a Hindu guy say this, you know Shiva, the guy you pray, doesn't exist. That's something the great masters of all times constructed so you could build ideas and images and use that as a focus to synthesize an experience. And once you get to this state of being, you got it. And when you become Hindu, you want to pray all the gods, and eventually you select one or two that you really love, and then you just go to mantras, and then the god disappears, there's just a mantra, and then the mantra disappears, there's just the state of being with God, and then Shiva just disappears, and there's just existing in perpetual interaction with everything. And you get to oneness. Okay? So every great Hindu saint get to this place of there's not God in God. Okay? So for the Buddhists, they start with the fact that there is no God, but you'll pray a Buddha instead. I mean, whatever. Name it how you would. Okay? I'm Buddhist, by the way, for those who care. Or I'm not Buddhist, considering the Buddhism does not exist. According to Buddha, by the way. What is a bodhisattva? According to the words of the Buddha, but translated in English, a bodhisattva is someone who knows that the bodhisattva does not exist. Hence, we call him bodhisattva. Okay? Bodhi is the cleared mind. The sattva is being. So the being with a pure mind, being with a pure mind, knows that there's no definition to attach to being with a pure mind or not. So you know a bodhisattva is irrelevant when you get there. So we call him that. If you're purified of the definition of even how we refer to the state of having no definition, you understand it. Okay? That is Zen. Playing with the mind. Okay? It exists. Doesn't exist. It exists, doesn't exist. What's the truth? State of being. Experience. Right? What is God? An experience. And eventually you find out through experiences, not through your dogma, not through belief, not through cultural situations, but through experience. In a spiritual path that your mind is free of the requirement of interpretation and understanding, you will get the experience of oneness. You will get it before enlightenment. Someone experiences oneness is not enlightened, not necessarily, because a lot of people are simply barely awakened and they're starting to get this oneness trip. And it's cool because their center of perception in the brain, and physical brain, and the mental mind, mental emotional mind, they're free of the stronghold of filters and interpretation. So you get the oneness, you experience it, you feel it. What is the oneness? I don't know. If I start to laugh, okay, so you felt something while I laughed. We're one. Okay, I don't know how to explain it otherwise than this. There will be an experience that everyone has, and that's it. Okay. I just tried something. It worked. Okay, next. Want me see cry and you start to cry? Maybe I cry, you're going to start to laugh also. Seriously, those who saw me cry, when I start to cry, everybody becomes in sorrow. Just go, ah. So I'm not going to cry. Right? Remember Simon? Yeah. Marsha? Yeah. Because when I get into a state of being, I pull you there. Okay? Why do I do that? If I cannot teach you through words because there's no credibility to sterile understanding, I'm going to find any possible way to trigger states of being in you. I use words, but sometimes I just go there and you just get it. You know, gazing in your eyes, stuff. Just some people just gaze and they get it. This is what I do. Okay, a lot of people have different supernatural powers. Some people walk on water, which is not that useful because you can just pay the ferry. Some people do telekinesis. I found one use of telekinesis is when you lose your keys. And then you can tell people you unlock doors without keys and they're afraid of you. So, I mean, what's the use? Call the repairman or the lock guy, you know. So, a quick one. The Buddha was walking on the side of the river Ganga, saw a great master walk on water, and he said, wow, you're a great master. And the master was quite humble. He said, yeah, well, whatever great master is. And he said, you have the power to walk on the water. You must be quite powerful. Well, whatever, what power is, whatever, doesn't matter. But yeah, walk on water. And the Buddha triggered, how long did it take you to master this power? He said, well, it took me 25 years to actually very master it and just walk like this. Wow, 25 years. It cost 2 rupees to cross the river with the crosser. You could have spent 25 years developing compassion so people will stop suffering when you look at them. But to each their own trip. We're just started. Usually, not always, but usually, the peak of a weekend is on Sunday morning. After the second night, and everybody just gets the immense state of being. Yes? And afterwards, we have to land. If I throw you out in the wilds in this state and become aware of everything, and you look at the advertising and all the stuff, and you did not release yourself, your mind, of the power it holds on you, because there is power because of conditioning and continuous effect of it, and conscious of everything as one, it might be a cause of suffering. Okay, so I'm going to lower the state of experience and try to just get inside myself and stop touching your soul on Sunday. But now, the more we go towards Sunday morning, the more you are affected. Usually those who like to come to seminars accept that. Breathe. Okay. So you need to understand that I have no power on you. If in your mind you don't want to be affected, it's impossible for me to do that. Okay? It's okay. If you want me to affect you, maybe you're going to gain some kind of trust. Well, maybe I'm going to let him teach me through experiences as much as he does through words. Because, well, the words are starting to make sense. So I'll gently open a bit of myself and see what happens. Okay? And you're going to get some level of experience to say, wow, cool. Now I can do that. Because once you know you can do something, once you know you've experienced things in a seminar with someone who could help you trigger that in you, then you can go home and try it on your own and do it. And know, oh, now I can do this. Wow. So you remain autonomous. Okay? I am so strong on the teaching of non-attachment that there's no way I'm going to accept someone becoming dependent on me for triggering these states. So don't worry about the cult thing. Okay? Oh, let's speak of cults. We're speaking of definition of God. What's a cult? A cult has 3 conditions. We won't write them, but I'm going to name them. First condition, guru or master is always right. Second condition of a cult, we hold the truth. Third condition of a cult, we have been selected by God. First affirmation, the guru is always right. I can tell you by experience, it is not the case. It never is. Because the truth is not in someone's mind. It's something you experience by yourself. You go find wisdom to where there is. Because when I want bread, I go to the grocery store. If I want enlightenment level knowledge, I'll go to where it is provided. Okay? That's it. So I'm not always right. Especially if I'm going to do something that triggers suffering in you. I'm not going to trigger suffering on you. I'm going to trigger state of being. You're going to observe it like if it was suffering because of your conditioning, and I'm going to help you out of it. And I'm never going to do that beyond your level of accepting it. Okay? And I'm pretty good at sizing what level of intensity you can go to. but the intensity of suffering you accept to feel will be the equivalent of the intensity of the bliss you accept to feel. Because for the soul, you don't feel suffering or bliss or happiness. You feel or you're done. So if you say, I don't want to feel pain, you're not going to feel. The soul say, okay, no feeling. If you say, I'm ready to face everything to go towards the experience of truth and feel God, your soul will say, okay, we feel. And then you have everything. It comes in deals, package deals, okay? You just get everything. And it's wonderful. Usually the suffering lasts 5 minutes and the bliss for like 100 hours. So it's a good deal. It doesn't come with a fry and a Coke, but I mean. Second parameter of a cult is we hold the truth. How could we hold the truth if it's an experience? It's not knowledge. It's not something that we can size. It has to be experience. So we do it all alone. Has nothing to do with the group you belong to. Third aspect, affirmation or property, is we have been selected by God. That is completely opposite the experience of oneness. Okay? How can there be some people elected by God, others not? And that's non-oneness. That's competition. That is animal instinct. We have been chosen by God is animal instinct trying to survive. Okay? So you will hear me tell you, don't trust me. Don't fear me. Don't care. Okay? Find your experience. You will hear me say, the truth is something you find alone. You can do it in group, but when you feel something, it is you alone. And you did it. I don't trigger truth in you. I trigger experience. You get the truth of it. And the same way as if everything and everyone was female, we would not mention things to be female as opposed to males because it would be obsolete to name it. So if we have all been chosen by God because this is the only thing that we can do, be in this state of relationship, why even mention that there's an elite or someone selected? It doesn't exist. There's only experience, spiritual path that everyone experiences each in their own way. Okay? So why do I say this? I say this to free your mind. I'm not really aiming at the newbies here. I'm aiming at my teachers. So that when you teach others, you will identify yourself if you start having these kind of arguments. That if is left uncared for, will become a cult in 20 years or 200 years. Okay? There's one spiritual path per living being. Find your own. And of course, you want bread, you go to the grocery store. You want enlightenment, wisdom, you go where it's provided. Okay? There are gurus and masters that explain the importance to study with them. This is a reflex they have born of a need of attachment and self-importance. There cannot be enlightenment in a state of self-importance. Self-importance is not oneness. Okay? If someone sends me to hell, I'll say, yeah, cool, been there, done that. Bring it. It's hot. It's like a sauna when you're used to suffering. If someone tells me, you're such an asshole, I'll say, thank you for reminding me. How could I be insulted? Oh, nice little story to trigger your minds. I was 18, my brother was 19, and this guy, completely stoned, took a shotgun and he killed my brother. He shot in the abdomen. He just exploded everywhere, stayed conscious for 20 minutes in agonizing pain, and died. This guy, 3 days later, came to the funeral house where the body of my brother had been patched and recolored and painted and reset to brand new, but dead, but brand new. And I saw this guy come in, and people think I'm going to kick his ass because I was fond of martial arts. I actually jump on him, take it in my arms as strong as I could, and I say, I want you to live your life knowing I forgive you. I want you to live knowing you did not commit an offense. Okay? And I said it loud enough for everyone around to hear it. So it will give an example of how to act like a holy being. Learn how to act like a holy being, practice yourself, discover the suffering inside, process your suffering through integration, ego recognition, higher wisdom, but felt experience, not tingling in the mind. Not using mantra to be blessed by thing. Mantra is one thing, experience is the key to everything. If the guy that died was my brother and I was ready to fight for it, it meant I endorsed my individuality. And there's no enlightenment in individuality. All right? And I know it's difficult for you to imagine yourself going to this point of forgiveness. But it's possible. Okay? You can fantasize on doing that. Eventually you see yourself doing it. Don't you? And then you get there. Everything, that's the sun. Everything that can take you away from the feeling of love, self-existence as God, not ego, I am God, asshole. No, not the New Age, I'm God, okay? Not the New Age, I'm God, that I'm God, it's so wonderful, I'm God, and in your mind you fantasize, you build yourself an identity of being God, which is completely fraudulent. Existing in the pure state of truth without leaving it, feeling happiness or love or emptiness, but always in a good, comfortable state. Whatever takes you out of this state of being, go work on it. Look at it. If someone goes on the street and tells you, you are so stupid, and it affects you, don't fight it. Say, oh, thank you. Thank you for showing it to me. What triggered me? What's my pride? What about my pride? Oh, no, I'm trying to think. Pride, it wasn't pride. Feel. Maha said to feel, okay. Oh, it's shame based on guilt because I'm a victim of the other guy who's a persecutor. And then you just go through the ego roadmap that you can learn with Jerry there. If you're from Amarillo or Corey here or her or him, people or her. My teachers all came to Marsha. How do you feel?
Good.
Good? You're happy?
Yes.
Did you know your consciousness is extremely expanded? What are the two other names of the emotional and mental plane you got? The two names of your divine self.
What are they?
Yeah.
Shunyata and Kaivalya.
So you started to meditate and you did the process of that?
Yeah.
So now your mind, your intellect mind and your emotional mind is adapting to the holy state. You get this? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the expansion. So you see all what is happening in your life that is providing lessons for you. Not because you need to go through suffering, but because you can grasp, wow, so little suffering about all that. You understand? So you produced it. How about the finger? Is it good? Is it?
Oh yeah, this has taught me many lessons.
Good.
Yeah. It's a blessing and a curse. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how it's gone.
A blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
We need cold air. Both of the systems. Did someone ever tell you a soul name in Sanskrit?
I have one.
Which is?
Durga.
Durga? Yeah, that's limited experience of it. Usually a soul name at the level of consciousness will be Durga doing this. Okay? Because you got Durgananda in the end, which is the bliss of Durga. Okay? And the Hindu saints, they give soul names, but all of their soul names are all about their divinities. And it has to do with what the divinity does. No? So if you want to have a Sanskrit soul name, that is not tied to a cultural trait, that is pure state of being, usually there's not the name of divinity, such as her name. Just to be in the great grace of God in prayer. It's about that. Okay? There's Durga in your soul name at the fifth plane. It's not your soul name. It's the name of karma in you. Okay? It's Durga karma, the action of Durga. Okay? But you have a soul name which is something else. Okay? Want to know? I'll tell you this weekend. I'm just introducing stuff to people. Okay, what, soul name? A soul has a name? That's absurd. Of course it's absurd. A soul is beyond the mind, is beyond the vibration of our voice and listening. How could it have a name? No. A soul has a pure thought, experience. In our human state, we use dictionary words from the Sanskrit or the Hebrew dictionary or some sacred language to describe as best as humanly possible the pure state of this being. So a soul name is a human reference in sound and linguistic to what is the pure thought of what we are in existence. Understand? Okay. And then we say we have a soul name. This seems to be a table, but it's not. Okay? Because if a small boy or girl comes here, goes under to play house, it's a shelter. It's not a table anymore. If the nature of something can change just like this, depending on your perception, your experience of it, it means that thing that you think it is, it's not. It's an illusion. So this is not a table. The only thing we can say about this table is that it's wood, metal, and it's covered with clothing. Understand this? Now, this is wood now, but put it through fire, it's not going to be wood for so long. Same with the clothing and the metal in it. So we can't say it's wood. We can't say it seems to be wood right now, but the only permanent thing about this is that it's matter. So this is not a table, it's wood. It's not wood, it's matter. This is the truth. Ah, found the truth. It's simply matter. So look around you. Look at the chair, look at the people, the hair, the necklace, the microphone, the people, your own robes. Look at this. This is not what you think it is. It's not a wall. It's a barricade, depending if someone else on the other side tries to barge in, you know? It all depends on your experience of the pure thought of each thing, not with what we name it or what we use it for, okay? If the property or something can change, it's not the truth. Truth cannot be altered. So this is not matter. Because it was energy once and it's going to go back to energy. So it's energy. So now we say everything is energy, but it doesn't mean that I can go through it. Okay? The New Age, easy-go-lucky, conditioned mind, everything is energy and you feel your chi. No, it's energy in the form of matter, in the form of wood, that I use as a table. That's all the illusion on it. But the reality is that there is energy. But I can't put my hand through it until I defeat nature, until I defeat the laws of nature. The laws of nature are there. So it's energy standing still, instead of the energy going through the wires, allowing everyone elsewhere in the world to see us. Okay? So if this is energy standing still, why is it standing still? Why is it energy standing in place? We know this now with quantum physics, that it's not atoms made of particles. Everything is waveform intertwined. And it becomes mass and snaps out of it. So it's energy. We proved it. That's scientific. Why is it standing in place? Because it was conditioned that way. First, it was conditioned by the laws of nature. And now I'm introducing the creative forces. Our God created the process of manifestation that we use the word nature to describe, the forces of nature, to describe that. Okay? So there are forces in nature making things to stand in place, energy to stand still, so we can perceive and interact with it. Or else we would just be ghostly beings, not suffering, because there would never be anything to provoke us into limitations or anything. Alright? So why is this standing still? it stands still because it remembers its position. Okay, so if energy remembers its position because it believes itself to be that, it means that this is a thought. So all of this is mind. Okay, so that's the Buddhist teaching on everything is mind. And then you throw this at people who don't understand nothing about it and say, oh, everything's an illusion, it's all in my mind. Now, Buddha didn't say that. There was Sukidevi next to me sitting, looking at the tree saying, it's wonderful that everything I perceive and observe is in my mind. Like an illusion, like a dream. But you're sitting next to me and you observe it too. And in your mind, it's exactly the same place, the same thing. What makes it that the fantasy is identical for everyone? Because it's not in your mind. It's in your mind. It really is there. This is really there. There's energy there. It really is. This is reality. Everybody wants to use the Buddhist teaching on illusion, and no one ever read anything about the Buddha's teaching on the true self and reality, which is his most important teaching. But people cannot understand the experience of reality until they are freed from the illusion of interpretation. That's a table. No, it's not. I use it to put stuff on. The experience of putting stuff on something is called table. So we use the word table because it would be too complicated. So, oh, put this container of liquid substance that I call water, put it please on the energy that memorizes itself as being there in the form of wood to structurize the fact that it's a table, put the water on the table. We use words. We need to use these words. Okay? So now you get other pre-newbie, new age hippies that play with words about everything, the fantasy theater, all's illusion, so nothing is important. Well, they're losing something important for real. Everything you perceive here is not what you perceive, but it is real. Breathe. And you cannot realize yourself. You can attain enlightenment through illusion, but you cannot attain self-realization, which is beyond enlightenment, if you do not exist purely and completely incarnate in reality. But don't call it your body unless you need to refer to someone else and you need to speak and use words because this is the tool we have. But this is not my body. The concept my is not true. The concept body is not true. But I'm going to call this my body so you can understand what I mean because you have yours, or maybe not. Okay, now let's not get too lost in words. The thing is, we will not learn about illusion. We will learn about what prevents you from existing in reality, which is illusion. Okay? Play with words. So there are forces in nature that condition mass and matter, energy that became solid by believing, by knowing its place in the mind of God. And then I can tell you God does not exist. Okay? Forces of nature is the will of God, depending on your interpretation of the word will and the word God. So now I'm going to use words so we can refer to stuff. The will of God, or the karma of Maha, the action of Supreme Consciousness, is forces of nature. Fire, earth, water, air, heavens, space, everything, all that. Okay? The moving, the interaction, the fusion, the unfusion. Okay? This is all forces of nature. The growing trees, life spurring from the earth. All of that was planned by this thing, which is Supreme Consciousness from my point of view, according to my definition. It is a consciousness, it's aware, and it is supreme, cannot be outsurpassed. And I'm pretty comfortable calling it God or saying that God does not exist, both at the same time. I don't care. Okay? So it doesn't really matter. before Jesus said, "Me and my Father are one," there was no Father in the entire Jewish system. There was the Creator. And then Jesus says, "My Father," as the origin of my thing, because he declared, "I am not from Joseph and Mary. I am from Spirit. I am not from my copulative or non-copulated parents," depending on your belief on the virginity. It means I came from Spirit. And the mystery and symbol of Virgin Mary being virgin means he was not born from flesh. He was born from Spirit. Okay? It's a metaphor. 16 people, 16 different saints and holy masters in history on the last 6,500 years were born from a virgin, started to teach. Thank you. Teach at the age 30, died at age 33, died on the cross, came back 3 days later. The same story, 16 people have it in 16 different cultures. A lot of it is true, but it was not experienced by every one of them. Okay? It mix match. Okay? You have stories about Krishna in this, you have a story about Buddha in this, you have Zoroaster. Okay? Okay? So, I mean, what is true or not, go through the experience. You have to relieve yourself from the dogma that we used to teach you. Nonetheless, the words that Jesus used have been duly recorded. Even if it was oral tradition, at this time, oral tradition was extremely precise. Why? Because they didn't have computers and writing. They were so well developed. They had their nervous system, Mary, was so acute because everything was learned by heart in their mind. Most of them could not read or write. And when they told a story 400 years afterwards, it was the same story. Why? Because 1,000 people said it exactly the same way 400 years ago, which provided sufficient proof that it was exactly what was said at the start, before it split up to everyone. Okay? It was their purpose. So even if it took a few hundred years to become on paper, or graved in rock, or whatever, it's accurate. The words of Jesus, most of them, well, in fact, the words of Jesus are good. What they wrap it around in the Bible, well, if the last line of a teaching is whoever doesn't believe it is going to go to hell, this line was added, okay? It's just, they just pasted it at the end, okay? But you don't see this kind of thing in the middle of Jesus' teachings. Never, okay? Jesus teaches, oh, she's a whore? She's been screwing around with people? You want to kill her? No, I want her. Because she's freed of the judgment of this entire sexual exclusivity I was speaking before. Okay? Look at Jesus' behavior with Jesus' responses to sexual behaviors. And he never has a problem with that. Never. Okay? Pure mind. He doesn't go screw around. Okay? No, he doesn't. Because he also has compassion. Screwing around with everyone causes suffering. Okay? Exclusivity is wise. But it's not a sin not to have it. It's another experience. Okay? Just refine your understanding. Okay? So you take the word of Jesus, my Father and I are one. What I conceive to be my origin and what I conceive to be me is exactly the same thing, said in the words of this culture at that point. And he said this so we could do it ourselves. Another wonderful thing Jesus said is, more will come who will do greater things than I. And then the church turn away and say, there's only Jesus, kill everyone else who dares. Okay? And then you got the Catholics in the Dark Age and the Middle Age that kills their saints through the Inquisitions. Yes, this is what the Catholics did. Because if someone starts to think by themselves, they're a threat to the political and economical situation, which is not the case today. Okay? Politics and economy finally freed itself, mostly worldwide, from religion, which is, yes, religion as only an influence, but not true power. So now every one of us are allowed to speak stuff such as God does not exist or God does. And no one will try to kill you, at least not here and not in the more modern world. Maybe in some place in Asia and Africa, but not here. So there are tons of wording and things that you have to put yourself in the situation, in the background, the cultural environment. And I love to use what Jesus said. Jesus said there would be more of his kind doing great stuff. Okay? And in the Hindu religion and the Buddhist religion, it's normal to have enlightened beings run around, and like in India, there's a holy man in every village. There are temples with a few enlightened beings and usually one great master, the oldest and the wisest. It's common. It's popular. India is a great producer of holy men. America is a great producer of tons of other stuff, such as popcorn and great medicine. And I heard this holy man, Dhyam Vimal, say, thanks to America, I'm alive today. Because it is their pharmaceutical development that saved my life in India. Now I can be enlightened and come here and teach you, you know? This is what Dhyam Vimal said, which is a wonderful perception of this. Okay? So there's no judgment. And I like popcorn. So it's cool. Whatever judgment you felt was yours, not mine. Breathe. Get into the state of power. If you start to be angry, if you want to step out and affirm yourself, you're not in power, you're acting. Be in presence, immovable, unaffected state of being, self-aware. And listen. Cut the air. Now really go into the inner state of being.
Elohim Gibor, Eloah Vedat, Yahweh Tzebaot, Elohim Tzebaot, Shaddai El Chai, Adonai Melech. Keter Hokma Bina Hesed Gevura Tiferet Netzahod Yezod Malkut. Metatron Radiel Tzahafkiel Tzahadkiel Kamael Mikael Haniel Raphael Gabriel Sandalphon. Hayot HaKodesh Ofanim Haralim Chachmalim Seraphim Melakim Elohim Beni Elohim Kerubim Hishim HaKodesh Reshit HaGalgalim Mazalot Shahatai Tzedek Mahadim Shemesh Noga Kohoav Levana Olam Yezodot Amen.
Abegida heva sachet. Eyokale menu sahat. Koreshit. Breathe. Consciousness of yourself as divine. Natural forces and its origin. Void, pre-existence, existence, and its experience. Everything. Breathe. Inhabit consciousness in yourself. Feel truth. Observe. Great state of being. And gentle, simple happiness. Gentle, simple love. This is my Eucharist. Now breathe and relax. Stay softly in the state and come back to a natural state of being. And be happy and simple. Open your eyes. That was the first state of being. Ah is not just the futile letter in a word. It is presence of God as you cannot define it. And all the names that I chanted are Hebrew names for gods in various properties and ways to be felt. Some of you recognize names of God and angels and archangels and this and that. 50 names of God spread over 10 planes of existence. But there's only one divine experience. in one unified reality. Self-awareness in this state. Ah. Tomorrow, we start with the Big Bang. See you at 9. Good night.